Drum solos. Welcome into Sports Dummies on the Warzone Sports Network. I'm your host, Tony Tucker, joined by my fellow Dumbo, Joseph Morley. Come, join this chat, jump in, get in on the silliness. Say whatever you want. This is a free space to say the dumbest things you want because we're sports fans, we're biased, we're having fun. If you are on the podcast form, go on over to YouTube and join the live shows. This should be dropped on Friday, but we're here for you whenever you want. People all over, fans all over. We're going to be getting into Carson Wentz, to the Commanders. Damn it, I keep forgetting the name. We're going to be getting into some trade rumors that involve Joe, Raiders, the Colts, the Texans. It's going to get sloppy. We're going to be talking even a little bit of baseball thoughts at the very end of the show. So you can kind of tune out at that point. But I'm going to be bashing baseball and the way it's run. But we're going to be talking about what the Chargers just did. Just traded for Joe's boy. Joe, how you doing? Before we get in here and I beat you up and make you feel bad about being a Raiders fan, how you doing?
What's going on, Tony Tucker and all the other sports dummies? I'm doing great. Baseball is back, and what a way to come back, but to get hit with some more NFL news, right? That's just the way this whole baseball lockout's been going, is the NFL is like, oh, you want to make some chatter? And then, bam, we're still the number one sport. The Chargers made some news today. 2 days ago, we talked about Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Now we got to talk about Mr. Carson Wentz. Maybe Jimmy G, maybe whatever else pops up, because we don't know. Right now, you and I are live on YouTube. If you guys are listening to the podcast, sorry, we're live right now, but you can listen to this. And maybe something will start breaking, some breaking news will happen right now, Tony, while we're talking. But I'm good. Yep, I'm ready to go. Because I know you're ready to pick on me, Tony.
Oh, I am. I got the TV up here for breaking news. But let's get into the first topic. The Chargers trade for edge rusher, future Hall of Famer to go in the powder blue, none other. Return to the sack. Khalil Mack coming to the Los Angeles Chargers. And for a second round pick this year and a 6th round pick next year, and all we have to do is take his contract, which Mike said before this on another thing where he just went wide-eyed, all hyped up about that and talked about it. And it was beautiful to see his excitement. But to me, that's really nothing, because we were going to go after somebody and pay them money anyways. Whether it was Chandler Jones, we were going to try and be in the Von Miller sweepstakes. These edge rushers, I heard people going, he's injured, he's this, he's that. Edge rushers, left tackles, and quarterbacks. That's who's getting money these days. And if you can bring Khalil Mack in and he's counting against the cap for $17 million, that's just fine. And the deal will probably get restructured or something, but I'm pumped about this, Joe. Does this bother you?
How do you build an NFL team, Tony? The old school way to build an NFL team, and probably the proper way still today, is pass rushers, left tackle, quarterback. Exactly what you just said. So the Chargers quarterback. Chargers drafted their tackle last year, going out. They already had Joey Bosa, but why not go add another one? Khalil Mack, yes, loved him as a Raider. The Raiders traded him a couple years ago when John Gruden took over because they didn't have the money to give it to him. Chargers are going to be paying him a lot of money. He's 31 years old. He just came off a bad injury season, which is his first injury season of his career. So I'm not really worried. Charger fans, I know a lot of people are worried about he's injury prone. It was his first one. Like, he never had a major injury, and that wasn't even major. But you are paying him a lot of money going into years 31, 32, 33. So you're looking at over, $25 million? But that's the going rate of any star player now, right? Anybody with big name, you're throwing big money at them. But the Chargers can afford it. Why? Because they have that young quarterback, right? They have the young quarterback. This is what you're supposed to do when you're an NFL team. With a young quarterback, you're supposed to build around him for the first 5 years while he's on his rookie deal, and the Chargers did a great job. But me as a Raider fan, am I scared of Khalil Mack? Am I scared of Joey Bosa? Hell no, because I remember Week 18. Is Khalil Mack going to help Staley not call timeouts? No. Am I afraid that Colton Miller already punked Khalil Mack when they played him on the Bears and made Khalil Mack nothing on that field? The Raiders are not worried about your pass rushers. The Raiders got it. And for Brandon Staley, this is what I feel about this trade. It's sad that Brandon Staley, the coach of the Chargers, has to go out and get big name free agents, big name players to come in. That means he's not a great defensive coach, Tony. He has to have great defensive players for his system to work. So you're saying that he can't go and mold anybody and put anybody in his system? No, they have to be great players to play for me.
Okay, so I totally disagree with that because Darius Williams, who's a free agent, is going to get paid. He was on that, and he was like not really known, but he was on that Brandon Staley defense. Sebastian Joseph Day, who I'm hoping we sign, is going to get some money, right? Leonard Floyd started to elevate his game to another level under Brandon Staley. The thing is you need the right personnel. But also, this isn't about whether or not Khalil Mack is going to stay healthy or if he's injury prone or whatever it is. This is about the fact that, like, when you have this opportunity to take a big swing, to pick a game-changing player up, that you'd go ahead and do it. I heard so many people talk J.J. Watt to Arizona or whatever. J.J. Watt was injured for like 4 seasons in a row. And when I try to tell you that Arizona was starting a retirement village, everybody's like, you're a hater. Khalil Mack has 1 injury in a season and basically shuts it down because he was playing for Matt Nagy. Are you going to gut through an injury for a guy who's walking, dead man walking? You're not going to do that. But now you're out here in LA. They're also not going to ask him to be the same kind of player that he was necessarily for 3-4 years ago or his time with the Raiders. You aren't asking him to be that. You are asking him in the fourth quarter of a game, like Von Miller was asked to for the Rams this year. He was worth every penny of overpayment that he's going to get, because when it's crunch time and you get to line up Bosa and Mack on the same side, your quarterback better be rolling the other way, and you better hope that you can hold the block on whoever they have on that side.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Tony, because I saw Mike was all happy about this, and they're saying it's the return of Staley and Mack getting together. They were together for what, 1 season?
Yeah.
1 season. And Staley wasn't even the defensive coordinator. So how are they getting back together?
Well, you know what they mean.
Like
they were in the same area. Well, when Akeem Hicks, when we signed him in 72 hours, guess what? They're going to say the same thing about any player, Sebastian Joseph Day, whoever else they signed.
But that was Vic Fangio was the defense coordinator. Vic Fangio, not Brandon Staley. Vic Fangio got the most out of him. I'm not saying that Brandon Staley can't work with him, but I'm not giving Brandon Staley every praise for what Khalil Mack did in Chicago that first season when he had, 10.5 sacks that first season or 12.5 sacks that first season. I'm not going to give that all to Brandon Staley when you have Vic Fangio, one of the best defensive coordinators that he's working for.
So here's the thing. You got to bring in a guy like Mack because he fits the kind of defense that you want to play, that you have had success with. You cannot be running out there with Uchenna Nwosu, who can't cover, he can't pass rush, and he can't stop the run at an elite level. He's a good player and will be nice in a gangrene Jets jersey or a Detroit Lions jersey. He'll overachieve somewhere. But the problem is that you have to be elite at one of those different layers. And Khalil Mack has shown he's an above average run stopper and can be an elite pass rusher. And when you're playing Patrick Mahomes, when you're playing Josh Allen in the playoffs, when you're chasing down Lamar Jackson late in the season, you need somebody that you say, oh, if they drop back, go out there and take out a femur. I need you to snap a femur in half. And Khalil Mack is the guy that you're going to tap on the shoulder and say, hey, 52, because Kyler Fackrell, who I think wears 52, you can go ahead and change that number right now. Unless Khalil Mack says he doesn't want it, Kyler Fackrell needs to change his number. Mike, you might need to check me on what number that is.
I'm going to say the only loser of this trade is the Denver Broncos because they went out and did everything to bring in their quarterback, and now Russell Wilson is going to be a non-factor against these pass rush in the NFC or in the AFC West. In the AFC West, like Russell Wilson coming in is not a big deal for the Broncos because the AFC West has already been dealing with Patrick Mahomes, right? So we already know the teams already know they have to go after Patrick Mahomes. I like it. I like this deal because now Patrick Mahomes is going to get smacked around another game by another pass rushing, and I'm all for it. I'm all for the top, and I'm all for the competitive in the division because we need it, and for the buzz around the AFC West right now, Tony. I love it. I love it. And people can say whatever they want about my team, the Raiders, and say the Raiders are fourth best team in there. It doesn't matter because they said that last year. I like it. I like that other teams have to go out and prove their worth now. And the Chargers, like you said, they had to make this move. The Chargers have to make more moves because they're pissed off because everybody expected, for them to go a lot farther than they did last year. Everybody expected the Chargers to at least make the playoffs, which they didn't do. So, and then to watch the Rams do what they did in the Rams' house, SoFi Stadium, where the Chargers actually play. Yeah, Chargers have to load up this season. They have the most cap money, even with the Mike Williams move and now Khalil Mack. They still have enough money to do something, Tony. And you know how the NFL salary cap is. You should move a couple pieces here and there. The Chargers didn't live up to expectations last year, and now you're putting more expectations back on the Chargers with this Khalil Mack move and with anything else they do. So the pressure is mounting on Brandon Staley to see how great of a coach he really is now.
See, I don't think the pressure will mount until we fully see how complete it is and how much of the transformation is. I think that the pressure has mounted more on Tom Telesco, where it's like, you've been here 9 years, it's your third head coach. How have you supported them? You have a perfect opportunity to go out there and support a guy that you picked, and you know what he needs. You know what he brought in. Albert, I agree with this. I said this was the best division of football last year. Everybody said that I was biased. That's fine. I proved to be right. This was the best, most complete division in football. It will be again this year. Like, the Khalil Mack thing to me just means it doesn't have anything to do with outside of the building. Everybody keeps saying that it's going to be about stopping this, that, or whatever. You have to bring in certain players on a team that like a championship caliber. Look at the players that Brady got brought in. Was Antonio Brown still the same? No, he wasn't, but he was able to be very significant within that offense. Sometimes people thought maybe better than the younger studs that they had. If you bring in veteran players, they're savvy enough. They just can't do it for as extended a periods of time that they did before. But if you're bringing them in expecting them to be that young buck, they can't. So you have to have these players that teach young guys and also go out and know how to execute in big moments and make big plays and are still capable, but can't necessarily do it for 60 minutes. That's the thing. I don't need him to be Khalil Mack from the Raiders. I need him to be Khalil Mack, 3rd down and 7. I need pressure on this guy. Go over there and rip the stripes off of Joe Burrow's helmet.
And you only gave up a 2nd-round pick. You gave up a 6th next year, but for a 2nd-round pick that you were probably going to reach on somebody, maybe get somebody good, I don't know. But for, like you said, there's not – a 2nd-round pick for Khalil Mack is unbelievable. And we're just starting, Tony. We haven't even got to NFL free agency yet. There's still more moves that need to be made. There's still cap casualties that are coming, and teams need to get under its cap and more. I love it, Tony. This is I mentioned it last time. We hate when the Super Bowl happens because we know football's over and we won't watch it. But this right here is the most entertaining month of football. All the way leading up to the draft. It's going to be fun. I think I looked it up. So it's the 10th. So we're recording this on the 10th. We're live on the 10th. Monday morning, the 14th, is when NFL teams can start talking to people.
What day? They can start talking to them on Monday, right? It's called the legal tampering window or whatever.
Yeah, the tampering window. And then the 16th is when the new league rolls over, and that's when everybody has to be under the salary cap. I'm interested to see what else happens. Like, okay, I like Khalil Mack. I love it. Good move. You gave up a second-round pick. Could you have? How much? I wonder. I want to wait on it a little bit, Tony. And before I say the Chargers, did the Chargers basically stealing from the Bears? Hell yeah. Did the Bears give up so much, and then now they're only getting a second round in return? It's hilarious, right? But I want to wait until I go, okay, Chargers, that was the best move that you could make, because I want to see what Chandler Jones goes for in the offseason. Trey Flowers just got released by the Lions. I want to see what he goes and see how much money they get compared to Khalil Mack, and see if you could have kept your second round pick and added somebody just as good as Khalil Mack on the free agent market.
Sure. All of these things will be contingent on health of whatever it is, right? They're putting up like crazy statistics of what Khalil Mack has done in the past. My thing is, I don't care. I already know what the player can do in the past is what they can do for me going forward. And I think that he adds exactly what we needed last year, was somebody to help Joey Bosa so there were not triple teams on this guy. Even if Khalil Mack has lost a step or whatever, there's still the threat of who that guy is. The same way Von Miller was able to come in and stand next on the same side as Aaron Donald and he can't bend like he could before all the knee injuries and whatever else. We're good. You have to take the shot, because what if you don't, Joe? What if you don't take the shot now, and then Chandler Jones is like, "Oh man, somebody offered me more money." Oh, but if we don't get him, Trey Flowers, I want to be close to my family. You don't get him. Now all of a sudden you're scrambling to fill a hole. When you have your shot, you got to take it. If the Bears were like, "We'll give you Khalil Mack for a second," you can't live in the rearview window like that. Yeah. You can't be like, "Oh, what if I could have done this or that?" Because then you end up left with maybe greatness, but maybe nothing.
That's true. And Albert Marty Quinn is asking, is the AFC West the best division right now?
Yeah.
It has to be. These four teams are like, yeah, we're going to battle it out. We've seen three teams in a division make it, but Mike's always asked, can we see four teams in a division make the playoffs? And I think that's very, very tough, because they have to beat each other up. But it's not. It can happen. It can happen. So, hey, great move by the Chargers right now. Let's see what else the Chargers can add, and let's see what else the AFC West is going to continue to do. Mike is asking, and this is something that you wanted to bring up earlier, Watson possibly to the Raiders in a deal. A lot of people are throwing Derek Carrs out there. Carson Wentz just got traded yesterday to the Washington Commanders. And now there's reports out there that the Indianapolis Colts are going to do whatever it takes to get Derek Carr away from the Las Vegas Raiders. Me, as a Raider fan, I don't think the Colts have what it takes. I don't think they have what it takes. They don't have their pick. You want to talk about some three-way trade you saw?
Yeah, so I saw a trade, and I don't know how real it is, but basically the trade is all of the picks would go to the Texans, right, from the Raiders and the Colts. And then the Colts would get Derek Carr. That's the guy they want. And then the Raiders would get Deshaun Watson. So I think the Colts, they want Derek Carr, but they don't have necessarily the players or the capital to get that pick done. But let's say that they have like somebody, I don't know, that they could send over there defensively or whatever to the Texans that Lovie Smith might want, and they throw in next year's first, or they sweeten the pot for the Texans to basically be making sure they get enough picks to part ways with him. The thing to me is like, the Colts want something, they can't get it, so they need to bring somebody else in. This is how Mike fleeced people in fantasy trades this last year. Mike would be like, "Hey, I want somebody from your team. Hey, can you bring in?" And Mike always got the two best things he wanted because other people are dumb. If I'm the Texans, I go directly to the source. I go straight to the Raiders and I say, "Hey, you not only do you guys have this, but I wouldn't mind taking this player off your hands, and I wouldn't mind taking Derek Carr and a couple first-round picks and have him play in where his brother couldn't make it." Like let's have both cars play for the Texans.
Yeah, and all I know is Brandon Cooks better be in that deal as well. If you're gonna get anything from the Texans, Cooks better become that way too.
Yeah, but that's the thing is the Texans are already saying, hey, we're getting rid of a top 5 quarterback when he was perfect. Quiddy Pay. Thank you, Mike. That's great. They just drafted this kid out of Michigan. Good young player. You got to find ways like that to sweeten the deal. You're not going to trade Darius Leonard. He's too good. He's too good.
Nelson, you give me Leonard. You give me second round pick. No, I don't see it. Because okay, how good is Deshaun Watson going to be after a year off of football, Tony?
Oh, he's going to be just fine. Joe, think about it like this. If this were a long time ago, I would have a different tone. He might have a little bit of rust for, getting back in rhythm and timing and whatever else. You can't hit the quarterback anymore. So it's not like you have to be like super unconfident. He wasn't a guy that was like relied a ton on his athleticism. Like he's athletic and he can move the pocket and whatever, but he's not like running for what's the most Deshaun Watson ran for in a year? It's not like Cam Newton or some of these other guys that are running for 600-800 yards, is it? I don't remember that anyways. So he's a guy that can
500 no, where's that? Sorry, it just moved on me. 551 was the most rushing yards he had in the season, and that was in 2018.
Okay. So that's not going to be part of his game going forward. He had 4,000 passing yards?
In that same season?
I'm just saying, like, when you look at his game, it is more about his ability to throw the football.
In the last full season that we saw Deshaun Watson, which was 2020, he led the league in passing yards.
Was it 2020? Yeah, I lost COVID.
4,823 passing yards. And then how many touchdowns did he have? Where am I at? 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions that year.
Yes. Oh, now I remember. I won a fantasy championship with him that year.
I
traded
on a 4-12 Houston Texans team.
Yeah, that's the thing is, and they're talking about this right now. The investigation will be presented to the grand jury on Friday. We'll have more. I think over the weekend we could see some real noise for this, depending on what are sort of the back channel things.
I'm trying to remember who it was, Tony. A former player tweeted out the other day that and you said it the other day too, that everybody's hearing good things about Friday. Friday's Deshaun Watson's court hearing. Everybody's hearing good things about it. And I forget, oh man, it was a former NFL quarterback who tweeted out, he said, I hear good things about Friday about Deshaun Watson, and if it all goes well, expect Deshaun Watson in Pittsburgh.
Okay. I don't know how the Rooneys feel about that because I know they're a pretty stand-up family, and I think Mike Tomlin obviously would love to have a quarterback of that caliber. I think even if he comes back in the first year or so, he's not what he was when he left. He's still – how old is he, Joe? He's 26, maybe 27 years old.
Yeah, 27.
He's still got a
26,
decade.
He'll be 27 by the time it starts the season, I believe.
He's got a decade of football in him. And I think that, like, kind of my thing is we may not get details of, like, grand jury testimony, and we may not get all the ins and outs, but I believe that lawyers and everything are going to have a good idea of the gravity of the situation, potential jail time and fines and whatever. So that way the NFL can go in and they can kind of send out like a private memo that says, hey, it looks like this is what's going to happen. If this is the case, he would be suspended for 4 games, detrimental, whatever. And that kind of gives teams the green light to really knock on the door and say, hey, can I shovel your driveway for Deshaun Watson? Like really just start trying to get out there and make some money on that trade front. But when you look at it, I said this earlier on a show today. If I was Deshaun Watson, I would go to the Texans and I would say, you can only talk to NFC teams. I would look around the NFC and I would say Aaron Rodgers is 40 and almost insane. Like he just seems like
Yeah.
a crazy person. And Matthew Stafford is like 33 with a bad back, a bad hip, and whatever. Like, who am I afraid of? Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, Jameis Winston, Carson Wentz, our next topic. Like, I look around the NFC and I'm like, oh shit, there's a chance I could go there and I could run the NFC for like 4 or 5 years before maybe Justin Fields, Trey Lance. Like, these guys are real threats as far as who's the dominant QB in my division. Like, why not?
Why not call the Lions and be like, hey, give us Jared Goff, we'll give you Watson and and you give him some other stuff.
Well, the Lions have quite a fefew picks, I believe. They have 2 first-rounders this year. Like, I doubt that that's going to happen, but you know, because Deshaun Watson's already shown he'll sit out and not play football.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're the Lions, you don't want to take – you're trying to build something positive about the team. He's not a Dan Campbell guy. But, yeah, I get it.
I'm just saying, like, if you're going to send him somewhere where at least I could root for him and root for a team to come back. Another quarterback in the news, Tony, Carson Wentz to the Washington Commanders. A lot of people are knocking this trade and laughing at the Washington Commanders. I'm the opposite. I like the move for the Commanders. Carson Wentz was not traded because of how bad he is. Carson Wentz was traded because the Indianapolis Colts made a personal decision, and they were invested in this as a fan. And the way I see this is they made this trade as a fan, like looking at it as a fan and not looking at it personally and as business and as NFL quarterbacks. Carson Wentz, no matter what, you could blame some losses on him or whatever, but the guy put up some great stats for an NFL quarterback, Tony. He's not an elite quarterback, and we all know he's not an elite quarterback, but he's a good and better than a journeyman, and he's somebody that you could actually build around if you wanted to. Washington's getting him for absolutely nothing. So if they wanted to, they could still go out and draft a young quarterback, Tony, and to sit behind him. Yes, they're paying him a little bit of money. Nobody cares. That's what you pay quarterbacks now, is the $28 million. But Carson Wentz, to me, like, dude, he didn't throw 100 interceptions. He threw 7 last year, Tony. 7 interceptions. He played hurt a lot. He got rushed a lot. Even though everybody always talked about how great that Indianapolis offensive line was last year, they were banged up, and he took a beating. But he was out on that field hurt, and he wanted to shake that Carson Wentz's injury-prone label last year, and he was out there playing hurt. And I don't know, Tony. I think he did very well last year. 62% completions, 27 touchdowns on a team that really Michael Pittman was their only receiver. Yes, all he had to do was hand it off, but just Jonathan Taylor wasn't Jonathan Taylor at the beginning of the season.
They started off the season really slow. People forget he was on the new team, missed all of the preseason and bits of training camp because he broke a bone in his foot. That made the team start off slow. Then they got really hot, and everybody was like, Carson Wentz, MVP conversation, like, look at him, comeback player, like all this, just like Carson Wentz. And then he tails off at the end. I think the problem with Carson Wentz is, one, he did play through injury last year, so he helped me a little bit in the notion, because I'm one of those guys who says he's got an injury problem. He might not be injury prone, but homie has an injury problem. And so he played through and then choked at the end. His biggest issue is between his ears. People don't really seem to like him wherever he goes. This is 2 organizations where people teammates aren't drawn to him. I hear very little sort of like defense of him from other players, coaches, teammates. Like, to go somewhere for 1 year and you were supposed to be reunited with the guy who had you in your MVP season, and you guys are both, men of God, and you speak the same language and all this stuff, and you can't make it 1 year. Your head coach can't convince the owner, hey, give me a second season with this guy. That's it? Yes. Put it on the screen. Let's celebrate this real quick. SB Talk Sports.
If you guys are listening to the
Hold
podcast, we do get comments on our YouTube page. So when we're live on YouTube, people do. Of course, Charger fans are coming in, still happy about the Mack trade. We're talking about Carson Wentz to the Washington Commanders. Washington needed something, Tony. They needed somebody to come in. If Carson Wentz can stay healthy, and that's another thing I saw. Like now we're putting Carson Wentz on FedEx Field, which is known for big injuries to quarterbacks, and not a lot of people like that. But if you look at Carson Wentz's career, Tony, you look at what he has. Yes, he had that one big injury where Nick Foles came in, led his team to the Super Bowl, and he lost it in Philly. I understand not being the leader. But in Washington, he doesn't have to be the leader. Ron Rivera has that team. Ron Rivera is the man in that on that Washington team. And so you're bringing him in. You're going to let him do it. I like the offensive line. I like the team. It's a good – just don't make the mistakes. Carson Wentz, play your thing. And this is something – he's used to that division. He's going to be playing the Eagles, and you don't think he's going to want redemption there. He's going to be playing the Cowboys, who he's used to playing. He's playing the Giants. It's all these teams that he's used to, and I think Carson Wentz is going to be all right. I think Washington made the great move, and they didn't give up enough to make it a horrible deal.
So let's look around at what they really have. They have a bad owner situation. The market is very bare. And you got to give them credit. They went out to everybody. They called the Chiefs about Patrick Mahomes. They called about Watson. They called about Russ. They called about Aaron. They called about every quarterback. Now, if you look at potential, Carson Wentz is probably somewhere in that like 15, 16 range right now if you were going to make a list of QBs. Now, he has the potential to be closer to 10, 12 in that sort of Ryan Tannehill, Derek Carr, like in that range where we put those guys. You know what I'm saying? Like those guys that are top 10, 9, 10, 11 quarterbacks. He could be there. So you are trading for 1 year for potential. If it works out, you get a second year on it that's not nearly as expensive. And the year is like year to year. They can cut him after this, and I don't think there's really any penalty. And like you said, you still have your first-round pick. You at 9 or 10 or whatever, you can go get Kenny Pickett in the first round. You could trade up maybe and get Malik Willis and have him sit behind Carson Wentz for a year. Like you have options. You have a quarterback who has ability. Now, can he show the ability to mature as a human being and be a really good teammate and a really like a guy that people want to be around, people want to play for? Like, he just reminds me too much of Jeff George. Jeff George is a quarterback from my youth, played for like the Falcons, played for the Colts, played for a bunch of teams.
Raiders.
Dude had so much talent. Like one of those arms, he could Josh Allen type, big arm. Just throw it 75 yards, no problem. Nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted him in the locker room. Nobody wanted him like in press conferences. He just was very unliked. I don't know why. I was young and media coverage wasn't the same it is today. I'm sure today he'd be on Twitter giving the middle finger and, you know, like on some conspiracy theories and whatever else. He'd be insane. But back then, it was just like, why is Jeff George going to another team and another team? The guy's really good. Nobody liked him. And that's what's happening to Carson Wentz. And Carson, if you can't get it together after being with Frank Reich, who fought for you, who loved you, who all those things, and you can't get it right with Ron Rivera, I get not getting it right with the management up there. But now if Doug Peterson, who has a job, goes down to Jacksonville and works miracles with Trevor Lawrence, and they start winning 6, 7, 8 games, Carson Wentz will be a backup. He'll have plenty of time for hunting season.
But do you agree with me that I think the Colts should have kept him, but I think the Colts were too invested. The Colts think that they should have. The Colts are like the Chargers last year. They think that they had high expectations. Everybody expected them to make the playoffs and go and actually make a run in the playoffs because of how they played the Bills in the playoffs the year before, and then nothing. They lost their last 4 games. Ended up not going. Lost to Jacksonville, which was a big embarrassment to the organization. And that's why I'm saying it wasn't a football decision on Carson Wentz. It was the GM and the owner as fans as going, I can't believe we did this, making this quick decision, emotional decision, and getting rid of Carson Wentz. And I don't know, Tony. believe the rumors about Derek Carr that they're going to go after Carr. But what if the Raiders say, "Hey, screw you, we're not trading you, Derek Carr"? Now what? What are the Colts' option like? This and Darius Leonard tweeted this out too, that this is his fifth quarterback in 5 years. Like, and he's saying bye to Carson Wentz. It didn't sound like he wanted to lose Carson Wentz, but he's tired of the open door, the revolving door right there at quarterback. And that's the main position that you need to be stable at as an NFL franchise. And now you're going to move on to your sixth quarterback in the sixth season. And we don't even know, you don't have a guaranteed guy who's coming in, Tony. Like, are we really looking at Jimmy G as possibly? I don't think so, because then you would have stayed with Carson Wentz. Derek Carr, you probably don't have enough to get Derek Carr. So are you going to look at a rookie and now try to build with the rookie? And are you going to be happy with that when he makes those mistakes that Carson Wentz made?
I have a lot to say about this. I want to address Simply Dab. Been a while, haven't seen you. If you're still here, Mike and I will be doing Nuts and Bolts tomorrow at 5 p.m. and it's talking nothing but bolts. But to answer your second question real quick, does Tom say screw it and go get Bobby Wags? I hope he does. I would love to have him and Kaiser White as middle backers. I would love it. I want to piggyback on what you said, and I think Frank Reich is getting a little annoyed with the fact that Jim Irsay is kind of becoming Midwestern Jerry Jones, where he's like very, very involved in like everything. And I know football and it's like you do, but you also hired Ballard as a very good GM who brings in great talent. Look at what they've done through the offensive line, the linebackers. They develop talent very well. And I think at some point you lose good people because you're overly involved. Everybody take a page out of Robert Kraft's playbook. Hire great people and get out of the way. Put on nice cufflinks and go to a mom and pop shop and get a massage. Like, enjoy your life. You're a billionaire and you own a football team. Hold up the championship trophy and enjoy it. You don't need to be in like every single decision as an owner. That's what you pay these people for. I don't get the Cowboys are in a messy situation and nobody wants to believe it because they're the Cowboys. But if you look at it, it's not good in Dallas. And in like 5 years, we'll all be like, wait, why did we think this was going to be a good situation? Like, what was the sign? And me and Joe Morley will be like, we told you. You thought we were dummies? Well, we are. Well, we appreciate you checking in with us. You want to finish
like our one little thing that we can claim, and then like 20 other things that we were dumb on. But we're gonna take that one and we're gonna take it to the bank, Tony.
That's why the reason I call myself a dummy is because I say everything as if I know that is a fact. I know this is everything that comes out of my mouth is well researched, and it's not. Oh, Fel K, as soon as you mentioned the Cowboys, do you get an alert, Fel K, when the word Cowboys is said on this channel?
It's like
I feel like he does. Micah Parsons is going to have his career wasted in Dallas. I like it. I'm a big fan of his. But
if you guys are listening to the podcast, or you guys are new to our YouTube channel, and you guys are new to Sports Dummies, because Sports Dummies is a newer show with me and Tony. Fel K is one of the guys who always shows up. He's always here, so you probably hear us talk about Fel K a lot. Fel K is a big Cowboy fan, but he just posted and commented on our page. Micah Parsons in 5 years will have 3 Super Bowls. So the Cowboys will win the 3 Super Bowls in the next 5 years, Tony.
Yeah, no, he said not be in. He says we'll have 3 Super Bowls. So over the next 5 years, Dallas will sort of repeat their magic from the 90s. We're coming up on the 30-year anniversary.
You should have just doubled down and said the Cowboys will win the next 3 Super Bowls and be the first team to go back to back to back.
Yeah, Mike, it's so funny because there's no version of my mind that will allow me to imagine Mike McCarthy holding another Super Bowl trophy. Like, it just doesn't, it won't go there. It's just like, well, that's stupid. Why would you even think that?
Hey, that's a thing we could talk about. I don't think we talked about it yet on one of our shows. Amari Cooper, right? The Cowboys are expected to release Amari Cooper because of his big salary cap. And it's something that everybody saw coming once they looked at the salary cap issues for the Cowboys. And then it was like, oh, the Cowboys are going to do whatever they can to re-sign Michael Gallup. And then you and I laughed about it because we read another report that said Michael Gallup's contract expectations or demands are more than what the Cowboys are willing to pay. So the Cowboys kind of screwed themselves by putting that Amari Cooper news out there and going after Michael Gallup. Do you think that one of the two wide receivers that I mentioned, Amari Cooper or Michael Gallup, return to the Cowboys next season?
So what is my question exactly? I'm reading Felke's last comment where he's giving me a jab about Favre.
Amari Cooper or Michael Gallup, or will one of them be on the Dallas Cowboys next year, or will both of them be gone?
I think that they get a deal done with Michael Gallup, or maybe they already have and I just missed it or something, but I think that they re-sign him. It's more affordable. I don't know if Amari has been released yet. I didn't see anything. I feel like that would have been a big thing we would have talked about, but it's Amari Cooper to me he's a big deal. Like I think he's a very nice part of their offense. Like, does he disappear sometimes? Do people think that maybe he doesn't play through all the things he should play, or is he super tough? No, but he's really good, and I think he really helps Dak, and he's there, and I think it adds a lot of pressure to CD and adds a lot of pressure to Michael Gallup to hurry back from injury. It moves Cedric Wilson up. But again, we talked about this yesterday with Felke. The fact that they tagged Dalton Schultz over tagging Randy Gregory, like, you need a pass rush. Like, where you can't just count on Micah Parsons to do everything on your defense. Hey, we need you to tackle. We need you to get sacks. We need you to get interceptions. Like, he's really, really good.
Parsons drawing up plays for Parsons, like the old school, like having that great kid at the park when you're playing tackle football, and you're like, all right, just get the ball to him. Just give the ball to him, and everybody else just get out of the way. Yeah, that's what Parsons, go out there and tackle the guy with the ball. He looked like Bobby Boucher on that field last year.
He did. I think they will regret if they do not have Amari Cooper on their team. But I think there's a lot. I think Amari Cooper doesn't necessarily have the personality to like really thrive in Dallas. Just like I didn't think for the Raiders either. Like, you guys like big, brash, like opinionated, sort of like tough guy, and that's not who Amari Cooper is. I think he'd be better off in Cleveland. He'd be better off in Tennessee. He'd be better off with the Detroit Lions. Yeah. Not a lot of expectations and quarterbacks that need a wide receiver like Amari Cooper.
Felke saying Amari Cooper did nothing for like 90% of the season because Kellen Moore makes Dak not even look his way, kind of like Dez Bryant. I don't know. I looked at Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper had a lot of targets still. But there was a lot of games where he disappeared, yes. But then there's other games where he had big games. I just don't – I don't know. I think Amari Cooper is when he gets open, he has to be drawn open. Like there has to be a lot of stuff to be where he's wide open, and that happens. And I don't think he had the separation for it. But I do think he's a good wide receiver, not a great wide receiver. I think the Cowboys overpaid him a couple of seasons ago.
I don't think that this thing that we always go with the overpay, whatever it is, you're worth what anybody will pay you and where you want to be and where you want to stay. Like if you don't want to be paid that money, you could go somewhere cheaper, right? Or you could say, hey, that's not enough money. And instead the Jets said they'll pay me more money. Well, would you rather be a Jet or would you rather be a Cowboy? At least when you're a Cowboy, you get a bunch of fame and attention and whatever. But I don't think that's Amari's thing.
See, people throw money at me all the time, Tony, and I have to reject it sometimes. Like I have to be like, look, I'm not worth that. Keep your money, and I'll just go somewhere else. So I'm expecting Amari Cooper to do the same thing. When they give him $100 million, just say I'm not worth it. Only give me 80.
Yeah. You want him to give back $20 million. I do understand what Felke's saying. It's just when you put the hyperbole of 90%, it makes me read the comment and be like, oh, well, this is foolish.
Amari Cooper had 104 targets last year, Tony. 104 targets.
Honestly, it should probably be closer to 130. I can't do the math that quickly in my head, but that should break down to somewhere over 8.5 a game.
But he dropped. He does drop a lot. So he dropped 3 last year.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, three balls if you played even 15 games, that's not that bad. I mean, Mike Williams dropped 3 balls in a row last year, and he just got $60 million. So it's all what you're willing to be paid for. Let's talk just the idea of baseball, and then we'll be getting out of here.
All right, before we get to baseball, I just want to mention something as a Raider fan. For some reason, Raider fans, Raiders have opened up a lot of money today. They restructured Colton Miller and Kenyon Drake's contract to open up like $15 million. They just released Corey Littleton, the linebacker, that saves them another $11 million, I believe, or $4 million. I don't know. It saves them more money. So Raiders are opening up for free agency, getting ready for that. But as we already talked about, AFC West, they have to do something. All right, baseball, Tony. Baseball's back. And did you even know that it was gone?
Honestly, Joe, I didn't even think about. I was like, in my head, I was like, wait, why haven't I heard pitchers and catchers are reporting? Why haven't I heard anything? Like a little bit of chatter here and there. But I didn't really care because I've just been obsessed with reading about the Chargers offseason, and watching the Lakers just completely melt down is like, I don't even want to talk about basketball. Let's just stick on baseball right now. But I didn't. And then you said the other day, I forget when we were talking, you're like, "Oh, it was on the other show," and I didn't even know it didn't exist. I didn't even know that there was a beef.
99 days, Tony, locked out for 99 days, and you didn't give a damn. You know why? Because they locked them out in December when football season is in full bloom, and that's when everybody's going. Then you had the playoffs, then you had the Super Bowl, and everybody's like, "We don't give a damn." But now that football is over, everybody's like, hey, are we normally watching baseball right now? Like, where's that at? Like, do we need something to get us over to the next season? But a lot of things going back and forth between the MLB owners and that. But the main thing is what I've been hearing a lot, and I kind of believe it because I've been to a lot of baseball games. It's part of some of my favorite times to go to baseball games are in the March, April time, right? So opening day will be April 7th. April 7th, it should have been at the end of this month, but it got kicked back to April 7th. It's going to be opening day. They're gonna play the whole season, all 162 games. So you got that coming. But I heard the owners didn't mind the lockout, and they don't care because in March, April, they don't make money. They don't make revenue. They actually lose money, Tony, at the beginning of the season because the fans aren't showing up until midsummer and the late end of the summer. So that's what the players were saying. But just like we're excited about Major League NFL free agency, well, guess what, Tony? Tonight at midnight, MLB free agency kicks open. And there's a lot of big names on the market. You got Freddie Freeman, who hasn't signed yet. Is he coming to LA? I hope he does.
Well, I would be excited for that whenever I get to go. Freddie Freeman is a personal favorite of mine. I think we got into this on one of the shows where I woke up on like a Sunday morning and there was like that super sad, 60 like ESPN Sunday conversation where he's like talking about his mom and cancer. My wife walked in the living room. She's like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "Man, you shut up. What are you talking about?" I have always been a fan of Freddie Freeman. He helped me win the only fantasy baseball championship that I ever won. Here's the thing about baseball. They need to take a playbook, like a page out of the playbook of like where the Pope is. Like all of a sudden now the Pope is like cool and he's like, "Yeah, I don't even care, man. Whatever. Do this with your life. Do that with your." We need the commissioner of baseball to just be like, "Yeah, you want to put some grease on the ball? Go ahead. We're going to juice the ball. We're going to cork the bats. It's just going to be the Wild West." Because nobody cares about baseball. And this is why, even when I started to get into baseball and we were texting a lot during the Dodgers season, then it was like, then right away, what do? They're strip searching pitchers on the field. Like, I need to see if you have any illegal substances on you or whatever. It's like, let's not police baseball this way where you're like disrobing grown men on the field looking for something. Like, it's just so weird and old school. I don't care about it really until like August, September.
Well, and so much things could happen, and that's why they call it the dog days of summer. Is anything could happen. Like you'll see a lot of teams leading in April and May, and then by the end of the summer, those teams absolutely mean nothing. So yeah, like you said, you don't really watch baseball. You'll keep an eye on it and see how people are doing, but then you really watch it towards the trade deadline and going into that last couple months. But big news is baseball. They added $20 million to their soft salary cap, so the Dodgers and all them people that want to add more, they could do it and still be under the cap. But a lot of big names going out, a lot of big things, and like we said, if we want to talk baseball, we'll get into it. But we've been all strictly football, and we just had to mention it because it did happen today, and that will be coming up, and that will be some big news. But if Freddie Freeman comes, and the universal DH, the DH is back in both leagues.
I do like that move. I'm tired of pitchers hitting. I think that is exciting and fun. Let's see that. But yeah, if there's big moves, we'll talk about it before we get out of here. We got Warzone Sports Network's favorite Canadian saying, "Let's go Blue Jays." That is my cue to get out of here. Like Joe Carter, I'm calling my shot. There's an old school reference. And yeah, Sports Dummies. We will be back next week talking free agency every Friday. You can find it on the podcast. We're going to try and set a permanent recording time, but we'll figure it out. Let's what do you got,
on
Joe?
Warzone Sports Network on YouTube. You can download the podcast on if you're already listening to the podcast or not. You can find us the podcast, Warzone Sports Network, on any podcast listening app. We appreciate it, guys. I'm Joe Morley. That's Tony Tucker, and we are the Sports Dummies.
Dummies.